With the release of The Final Reckoning, we now have 8 films in the Mission Impossible franchise, so let's put them in order from my least favorite to my favorite. Overall, I'm a big fan of the series. I think it's one of the most consistent out there. Tom Cruise doing just the craziest shit for our entertainment. So from the time that they were basically standalone films helmed by different directors, to Christopher McQuarrie coming in and tying them together in his own way, how did they line up for me? Well, my number 8. Hate to say it, shockingly, it is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. If this surprises you, if you haven't seen my review, it's 27 minutes long, so I pretty thoroughly explain my issues with this. I don't want to talk about it forever again, but I just found this to be so slow-paced. I found there to be so much exposition that was just not handled in an interesting way. There are more compelling, clever ways to tell a story and to frame expository scenes, but there are so many scenes of just raw, basic people sitting in chairs talking and telling me things that I already know. I felt like I received the same information 3 or 4 different times. Without any interesting tension or character moments, it's all very basic. There were too many references to the previous films through flashbacks and callbacks, trying to tie things together unnecessarily. I'm gonna go into spoilers. If you haven't seen this one, I have timestamps. You can skip around. So, spoilers for The Final Reckoning. The entity is the rabbit's foot. Fine. Doesn't change anything. Shea Wiggum is Jim Phelps Jr. Fine. Doesn't change anything. He literally says, yeah, but that's not why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because you're a dude who always goes rogue and I don't trust you and this is my job. Like, it didn't matter at all. Why did you waste time doing it? The entire sequence on the aircraft carrier with Hannah Waddingham literally could just be skipped. What the hell was she talking about? May 22nd, 1996. I know that's the date the original film came out. What does it have to do with this universe? Literally, what was she talking about? It's just a reference to nothing. What is happening? It feels so choppy. It feels so stitched together. It felt like they already didn't have a script to start with, because that's how McQuarrie does things. And then the COVID issues and filming this back to back and Dead Reckoning kind of underperforming, like a lot of issues behind the scenes felt like this was so jumbled and messy, especially in the beginning. Luther is just sick. When the hell, how is he so sick so fast? What are you talking about? And why? It doesn't even matter, because he fucking dies. Why was he sick? Was that supposed to make us less sad that he died? Because he would have died anyway from his illness? That's stupid. I don't want to be less sad. I want to be sad if Luther dies. And I was. I actually liked that scene. I'm okay with him going out. It made me emotional. I loved the reference there to Phineas Freak. That was good. I've loved Luther. He's been an essential character. And it was sad to see him go, but I was happy to feel that emotion. But there's just so much about the editing here that I think you could have shaved so much of this off. You could have made it so much tighter. I think there are things in this story that just genuinely feel like they're missing that you could have included if you focused less on connecting it to other movies in ways that you didn't need to do. The action set pieces are cool when you finally get to them, and there's only the 2, but especially the planes, I was just unbelievably impressed by Tom Cruise's willingness to do these things that make it look like he is going to die. During that sequence, like, I know Tom Cruise is alive, and yet I'm watching this thinking, like, it's not possible. How could he be? It feels like I am about to watch the man fall to his death. That's how authentic these action scenes feel, and I respect the hell out of them for putting it together. The technical craft is so good. Gabriel, complete waste of a villain though, totally uninteresting. Any setup for him in Dead Reckoning is not expanded upon at all here. It's not even addressed. Any more details about him and Ethan's past together, it's like they forgot entirely. They don't even mention it. The entity taking it to a global scale made it less interesting to me. I preferred it when it was on a smaller scale, like personally fucking with our characters. Now it's just like on a screen, and occasionally countries on a map change color, and that's just not that compelling. I was way more bored than I thought a Mission Impossible movie could ever make me. It's even worse because it's the finale. It's even worse because it makes Dead Reckoning worse now, because that's a part 1 to a part 2 that I never want to watch again. I can't imagine any other movie this year disappointing me this much. I was really upset by this. It kinda... I hate talking about it. I really do. Let's move on to the next one, because I'm sad. Number 7 is the one that I thought would be my last place forever. I didn't think you would ever be able to make a Mission Impossible movie that I liked less than MI2. Genuinely, that's what I firmly believed, and yet I was wrong. I've never liked this one, but it does have some entertainment value that I felt like The Final Reckoning was missing for so much of its runtime. A lot of it unintentionally so. Some people like to post clips from this movie on Twitter and be like, this is so cool, how can anybody not like this? But what they don't tell you is that they're only posting clips from like the last 20-30 minutes, and the whole rest of the movie is really boring. There's so many intense stares between Tom Cruise and Tandy Newton in slow motion, and Dougray Scott, and everybody's just staring in slow motion. And it is awkward and a little unintentionally funny. Like, it is bizarre, but I do get some laughs out of it. This is when they didn't quite know what they wanted the franchise to be yet. They didn't quite know who Ethan was gonna be as a character. And so it's kind of like a weird James Bond type thing. There are some moments where Tandy Newton looks so gorgeous that it almost tricks me into thinking the movie is good, but I will not be fooled. I like her in the role, but so much else here, just not an interesting villain. I don't care for the plot line. It takes forever for anything exciting or suspenseful to happen. I think it's directed awkwardly. I don't think John Woo was the right pick here, even though I like some of his other stuff. When you get into the action, the birds, shit just does not work for me at all. Even the editing in the action scenes that many people will praise, I don't like it. There are so many moments where he'll have the same shot play 4 different times in a row from slightly different angles. I don't like the way it's edited. The final fight goes on forever. It's just them kicking each other over and over again, and every time you think it's done, it comes back to them and they're still going. But it does finally end, and Ethan is reunited with his love, who will never be seen or even mentioned in this franchise ever again. For all the callbacks they liked to do in those later movies, they didn't want to reference anything from this one. They had the montage at the beginning of Final Reckoning. They had to include a couple clips from 2, but you could tell, like, that's the one that got the least priority. They don't want to reference this more than they have to. I firmly believed this was going to be at the bottom of my list, but it actually got boosted up a little bit. Now that those are out of the way, though, I do like all the rest of them. Coming in at number 6, this is actually a very recent shakeup. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Before I saw The Final Reckoning, I had this one spot higher, but The Final Reckoning has knocked it down. And maybe that's not fair, but I can't deny that this is set up to payoff that I didn't enjoy at all. And so I would rewatch this movie and think, oh yeah, this backstory with Ethan and Gabriel, can't wait to see how that pans out. Oh, it doesn't. Can't wait to see how the storyline with the Entity wraps up, even though this is a 2.5-hour part 1. Oh, more exposition and more build-up for an hour and a half before we get to the actual payoff. The Final Reckoning makes this one worse, because I don't know if I would watch it again, because I don't want to watch The Final Reckoning again. So if I watched this one, I would just be stopping halfway through the story, and that would make it feel weird, even though there is plenty that I like about this. I think it has some issues with repetition, with things that we've done before in the franchise. I think there is a little too much going on. There is a little bit of messiness to this film as well, just not nearly as much as in the 8th one. But I like the addition of Haley Atwell. I didn't mind them killing Ilsa. The way it all plays out with The Final Reckoning in mind, yeah, whatever. But in the moment, you know, having that death scene, losing someone we care about was appropriate. There are some great scenes, some great returning bits and characters like the close-up magic and Kittredge, the motorcycle jump, the car chase when they're handcuffed. There's a lot of really fun stuff in there. But it is knocked down a peg now just because I don't like part 2. Number 5, the movie that just got bumped up 1 spot, is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. As you can tell, I have quite a few of the McQuarrie ones down here near the bottom. I just don't always approve of his method of screenwriting, which is to not have a script until he decides what set pieces he wants and what locations he wants to use, and then make the script around that on the fly as they go. I don't recommend it. I think it's ridiculous. I think it still works well enough in all of them except The Final Reckoning, but you can see shades of it in most of them that he has made. In this movie, there's a red box, and they're like, oh my god, that's a red box. But you can listen to McQuarrie's commentary on it, and he's like, yeah, we had no idea what the fuck a red box was. We were just making shit up. We got to the scene where we finally had to reveal it, and so we just had to make something up then on the spot. It's like, well, why? Why are you doing that? Especially when you get to 7 and 8 later, when they're getting so expensive, and you're trying to tie all these movies together, and they're supposed to be wrapping up the franchise. I'm not trying to keep harping on The Final Reckoning. I'm sorry. I just don't like that approach, but I still think Rogue Nation is pretty entertaining, enjoyable. I love a lot of the set pieces. Once again, the motorcycle chase, the underwater sequence, the opera house. This was our introduction to Ilsa Faust. Many of us, the introduction to Rebecca Ferguson, who is great. I just think a lot of the buildup here isn't really fully paid off until Fallout. I often struggle to remember what the plot of this one is. Like, I remember those big moments, but I can never remember what strings them together, because when you set up the Syndicate, the anti-IMF, there's a lot there with Solomon Lane that's very intriguing, and then it just doesn't really feel like it goes as far as you expect it to until Fallout, so this one kind of feels like a warm-up, so it never really sticks with me quite as much, even though I do still like it. Now, the top 4, this is actually difficult. This could change depending on the mood that I'm in. I like these all very much, some of them for different reasons, but how I'm feeling right now, number 4 is Mission Impossible 3. I think some people give this too much hate. You got to give a ton of credit to Philip Seymour Hoffman alone. Best villain in the franchise. His performance is outstanding. He is so chilling. That opening scene is amazing. You don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm just instantly riveted by him and Tom Cruise's performance along with him. I like the dilemma of Ethan trying to settle down and live a normal life and not being sure if he can. Michelle Monaghan is likable, but Julia is kind of just like nice, pretty lady. There's not really much to her, but I like that dilemma from Ethan. Lawrence Fishburne, Billy Crudup, there's some good side characters in there. I wish Lawrence Fishburne had been in more after this. What's that line that he says? Like, I would bleed on the flag to ensure the stripes stay red. Like, goddamn, dude. The Kerry Russell scene at the beginning is great, introducing us to this person that we're kind of instantly attached to just to brutally murder her so suddenly like that. The scene where Ethan has to put on the villain's face mask, but the vocals aren't ready yet, and so he's gotta delay and distract for like 30 seconds. Really fun ideas there. And I do like the joke of the rabbit's foot never getting an explanation, which has now changed, but whatever, because it's a MacGuffin. It doesn't matter what it is. It's basically the same thing in all of these movies. It's nuclear codes, it's a knock list, it's money, it's the thing. There's a bad guy who wants a thing, we gotta stop them from getting the thing. It's just a thing to make the plot move along. We don't actually care what it is. It's interchangeable, so the joke that we never even find out what it is, I think it works. What drags this one down a bit is the visual style. It's very glossy, it's very 2006. I just don't think it looks that great. And Abrams directing in some scenes, like those tense confrontations between our main character and antagonist, are great, but a lot of the action is kind of shaky and kind of flashy, and I just don't really like the way it looks a lot of the time. At some points feels a little bit more generic action movie rather than like Mission Impossible. I also don't think the team is very memorable. Maggie Q is memorable just because she's Maggie Q, but the character is not very interesting. And then Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, I always forget that he's in this movie. He's one of the least interesting teammates we've ever had. But when I want a great villain performance, this is the one to come to. I still really enjoy it. I rewatched all these movies recently, but with my next two, I was rewatching parts of them multiple times because I wasn't sure what order to put them in. But this is how I feel. So we're going with number 3, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This was not the first one that I saw. I watched them in order, but I watched the first 3 for the first time because this one was coming out. This was the first new one that I saw. So I remember the hype, getting to see this one at the time, this kind of being a turning point for the franchise, basically turning it into what it became, of Tom Cruise doing insane shit, climbing the Burj Khalifa. Unbelievable sequence. Not just the climb, which is just incredible, but the entire thing. Them having to try to trick people into thinking they've had a meeting they haven't had. Meanwhile, there's a sandstorm approaching the whole time, and then we gotta do a chase through that. It's like a whole bunch of different things that are all fantastic, all in this one sequence. And it's great. I think the movie peaks there. It's still good after that, but it never hits that high again. But that sequence is fantastic, along with the beginning, when they've got like the fake hallway technology. That's really fun. Jeremy Renner is a good introduction. Paula Patton. I really like the team in this one. They're a lot of fun. Benji is out in the field now. There's no Luther. That's a big knock against it. He shows up at the end. We could have used some Luther. I think this one's a lot of fun. The biggest knock against it is that the villain might be the worst in the entire franchise. I could not possibly tell you his name. I couldn't even guess remotely close. He's barely in the movie. He barely has any dialogue. He wanted some nukes or some shit. Really lame villain. This movie's a ton of fun. I love the big set pieces, but for my number 2, we're going a little bit smaller scale, and that is with the original Mission Impossible. I love it when I see people's rankings and I see this one ranked highly, because I think it gets overlooked sometimes. I know we love the big action stuff, but this is a great movie. I love how it feels so different than all the other ones. It's smaller scale. It's this focus on the espionage, and if the series comes back one day, which I'm sure it will, I would love if we got something more like this. We've had enough of the big set pieces. I don't know if that'll happen, but I would really like a return to form to something like this. I think De Palma directed the shit out of it. I love the look, like in the cafe with Kittredge and Ethan, just the close-ups, the angles. I really like the way this movie looks. Ethan's team getting killed immediately, him being framed for it, the entire storyline, the betrayal of Jim Phelps, which I know pissed off fans of the show. I've never seen the show, so I don't have that kind of attachment. I get it. Ballsy thing for them to do, for sure, but yeah, it would rub some people the wrong way. I love the dialogue, the look, the suspense. I mean, that scene where he lowers himself down to that computer terminal is one of the most iconic of all time. It's great. I love how it's so quiet and you're just sitting there in anticipation of what can possibly go wrong, and it's so good. It gets a little cheesy at the end. The final act is pretty far removed from everything that came before it. It suddenly ramps up in intensity and in the CGI and everything. Towards the end, it doesn't quite fit, but I still enjoy it as some 90s cheese. It's a lot of fun. But as much as I do love the small-scale espionage stuff, when the action is done well, it's done so fucking well, which is why my number 1 is Mission Impossible Fallout. I don't know what happened with Christopher McQuarrie, because I'm like, okay, Rogue Nation, not one of my favorites, but I like it. And then just, where did this come from? This is such a huge step up, in my opinion. And then what came after it, it's weird to me that I like this one so much more than his other ones, but I think this movie is phenomenal. Everything from jumping out of the plane into the lightning and the bathroom fight scene, just the fight choreography is incredible. Ilsa returns once again. Vanessa Kirby is there now. It wraps up and makes things more interesting from Rogue Nation. Henry Cavill is a good villain. Angela Bassett's in there. Alec Baldwin's character kind of has a nice arc from where he was in Rogue Nation. The helicopter shit at the end is insane. This movie is crazy. That entire sequence of Tom climbing the thing and falling and flying the helicopters and then the fight scene on the cliff, there's so much tension. The action scenes are so well written in the way they're set up. There's so much suspense. There's so many different factions of people who all want their own things for their own reasons. And so there's so much suspense even in all of the dialogue scenes. The motorcycle chase is great. I love that shot of Lane in the truck and the water is coming up like this towards him. That's so cool. The chase on foot, where Tom Cruise actually broke his foot. A core theme and a core component of Ethan's character in this franchise is that he is unwilling to sacrifice any lives, and I feel like that is on display best in this movie. There are so many scenes that make that so clear. From the beginning, when he saves Luther and loses the plutonium, to this random cop that stumbles across what they're doing and he is unwilling to let her die no matter what, and just the foil between him and Lane and Walker and this entire plot. It brings Julia back and it wraps that up really nicely. It's so good. It has incredible action. It's so tense. It's so well written. It's so funny. It might be the funniest one. Henry Cavill being the villain is predictable, but they know that, which is why the reveal in that scene isn't Henry Cavill is the bad guy. We saw that coming. The reveal is that's Benji wearing Lane's mask. So even when they do something like that, just there's so much good about this. It's incredible. McQuarrie, I know you're capable of greatness. Hopefully with whatever you do next outside of Mission Impossible, we can get more stuff like Fallout, because yeah, this one is just incredible. So there we have it, my Mission Impossible ranking. There's going to be a lot of variety in opinions here. We got 8 of these. People like different ones for different reasons. You usually see 2 towards the bottom. But other than that, you know, I understand the different placements that people have, so I would love to hear your thoughts. Which ones do you like the most and which ones do you like the least? What are you looking for out of Mission Impossible? Do you like the big crazy action set pieces? Do you like the espionage? Do you like the team being interesting? Do you like it when it's focused more on Ethan? Do you have any weird hot takes? Whatever you want to talk about, agree, disagree, doesn't matter. Let's do it down in the comments. We can have a conversation down there. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you would like to see more from me. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you next time.